Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be doing a video describing my whole knife setup because I have acquired a little bit of a collection of knives, and my mom hates it and she thinks it's a waste of money, but I look at it as an investment. So let's dive right in. So this is my knife roll. If I am working in a restaurant, I bring this with me every day. I don't like to use other people's knives. I like my own knives. I've bought specific knives that tailor to my taste. There are a few different styles of knives you can get. You know, there's German knives, Japanese knives, American-made knives, and what have you. And I really enjoy Japanese knives, so that's what I've spent a majority of my money on. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of them, and I mainly only use about 5. So I guess maybe just a tad bit of wasted money, especially depending on, you know, what I'm using them for. Like if you have a butcher's knife, for example, you're gonna have a wider angle on that to split through the bone so that you get in a little bit more of a blunt force. If you're slicing vegetables, you're gonna have a thinner knife so that you can get to those vegetables nice and easily. And then you got the long, thin knives for doing big jobs like filleting or slicing up sashimi for sushi. This is my Sujiki knife that I got from a cheap store up in Monroe. This I got more for the novelty of it. So I had a birthday party once when I was like, I think I was like 7 or 8, I think. And I got to slice the cake with a Japanese samurai sword. And I thought it was really cool. So I kind of started the tradition with my family to slice birthday cakes with this knife. Long, thin knife, good for filleting. This is a single bevel knife. So if you, let's get a close up on this. This knife only has one side that's really sharpened. Same type of knife, shorter, made for filleting, same store, got it for the novelty of it. These were like 30 bucks total. If you were to get a real Japanese-made Sujiki knife, they run for about $1,000. This is a Shin knife. This is a 8-inch chef's knife. Now, chef's knife is a multi-purpose term for this style of knife. This knife is a chef's knife, but it is Japanese. That makes it a Gyoto, which is a multi-purpose chef's knife. Good for all around work. You can really do anything with these. I really like the octagonal handle. As you can see, handle's octagonal. There are a few different knife handle shapes. And then there are Western handles, which are more your traditional, you know, you find in the knife block type of handle. An octagonal handle, ambidextrous. And then there are hand-dominant knife handles. Instead of all around, it'll be like a little kind of nook that fits right into the nook of your hand right there. This is a right-handed knife, so that handle is gonna fit right there in the palm of your hand and sit comfortably. Actually, this kind of knife you hold like that, but yeah. My sister's boyfriend knife, it got given to him by the chef that we were working for at the time, and he kind of handed it out to me. Passing knives down I think is very respectable within the kitchen. You know, it's kind of like handing down a family heirloom to your child. It's just kind of like a rite of passage. And if somebody gives you your knife or their knife, just take very good care of it. Be very respectful about that. This was my very first chef knife that I bought with my own money. This is like 60 bucks on Amazon. I really wanted a good Japanese looking knife that was sharp and that was kind of mine. I was using all the crappy knives around the kitchen, and I finally got something that was like, it was good for me. This is a raw forged pattern. It's got that hammered look. Sometimes it's for style. Most of the time it helps with the release of food off your knives. This is my Wüsthof Silver Point knife. This was my first kind of name brand knife that I've ever gotten. It's very, you know, it's got a little flex to it. It's thin, it's lightweight. I like this knife a lot. It's good for doing fast chop jobs. It's about 8 inches, but size does not matter. It's all about the personality of the knife, okay? How it sits in your hand and how it feels. Yeah. It was like 70 bucks. I got it on sale at the World Market up in Ann Arbor. This was my first name brand knife. And I love this knife, and you know, let's get a little close up. I made the sheath out of a Kerrygold butter box because it was golden and I thought it'd be cool. So this is a Miyabi chef's knife, 8 inches. This is a carbide micro stainless steel. It's got a cool little pattern on there, very light. The handle is Not an octagonal handle, but it's more just like a universal handle. This is a softer steel though, so I do need to sharpen it a little bit more often. I got it in New York City on a school trip, and I came onto the bus, and my director was like, "What is in the bag?" And I was like, I got a chef's knife. And then he was like, "Okay, whatever." This is a Shun fillet knife, as you can see. Bit different shape, and you know, there's some flex to that so that you can get through fish or anything that you're filleting really thinly, nice, and it's got a curved shape to help with that rocking motion as you slice through. This I got from my old workplace because they had like a big bucket of just a bunch of knives, and there were some really nice knives in there, so I wanted to save them. I don't use this that often, but it's just a cool thing to have in my collection. So this is a paring knife. Slicing up your strawberries for the morning, you know, doing your morning breakfasts and whatnot. It's by Schmidt Bros. It's got a cool little wood handle. Yeah, I don't like this knife though. I got it because it was a cool little thing. It was like 30 bucks. That is the butt of a knife. You'll have a little tiny piece right there that doesn't quite touch the board, and I hate it. So I always make sure I get knives with no butts. This was my first genuine Japanese steel knife that I bought. This was shipped over from Japan. This was expensive. It ran me up a bill, but it's okay. This is a Nakiri. As you can see, different shape from the rest of the knives, different use. Nakiri is a vegetable knife, and it is made for slicing vegetables. You get even contact with the cutting board, so you don't get that accordion issue. You know, it's also got that exposed steel pattern, and it's got the, you know, right there. It's been through a lot of cutting jobs have been done with this. I used it, like if I get a new knife, right, that's gonna be like my knife of the month. Like I'm using that for like the next month. If you watched the last video of me cooking, I was in San Francisco recently, and I went to Bernal Cutlery. Shout out Bernal Cutlery. Josh, I still want to meet you one day. Please, please, you're like my hero. This is a Japanese petty knife. This is a Western style handle, most commonly found in knife blocks and whatnot. It was 140 millimeters, I think. It's got a little bit more length than this paring knife, so I use this one. This is great for, you know, small jobs again. If I would have ever, like, say, hand peel something, or if I was gonna tourne a potato, or if I was going to, you know, do up a nice mushroom well, I would probably go with this knife just because it's a little bit more wieldable with one hand and for doing small, fine work. But this, again, great for like your fruits, your strawberries, any small tasks that you have in the kitchen. One of the only other knives that I love that doesn't have a octagonal handle, the big dog. So also got this from Bernal Cutlery. Beautiful knife, beautiful, beautiful knife. This is carbon steel, I believe. And so with carbon steel knives, you have to take very good care of them. But this one, it's gonna rust a little easier. And with carbon steel knives, they're gonna slowly develop a patina, which is kind of like equivalent to a seasoning for a cast iron pan or a carbon steel pan. This one is really nice. This one is 240 millimeters. It's big, it's nice for like cutting up a watermelon, cutting up big things. I got it specifically because I wanted a longer knife. Size doesn't matter though. I wanted a longer knife and wanted something cool. Again, octagonal handle. And yes, it's pretty, it's beautiful, it's sexy, it's sleek, it's surprisingly light for its size, right? And yeah, I love it. Chops great. I actually don't exactly know what kind of knife this is, but I'm pretty sure it's from a butcher shop. I'm pretty sure it's for large carving things, you know, breaking down a pig or breaking down a cow, whatnot. It's great. I never ever use it. It's then again another cool novelty knife. This is similar to in between a butcher's knife and a Nakiri, I think. I'm not a knife pro, guys. I'm only 18 years old. Okay. It had a chip in the tip when I got it, but you know, it's all right. I'd say my most used knife is this one now, and these four. I use these ones a lot. But other than that, these other knives, they don't get used too often. I'll throw them in the mix just so they feel loved. Le piece de résistance. My Sur La Table carving knife. It came with a fancy box, that's why I kind of bought it. I haven't used this since Christmas and Thanksgiving. Another freaking butt. I didn't really like it, but you know, I had to buy it because it came with the box. Imagine pulling up to Thanksgiving, right? and you're like, all right, I'm ready to carve the turkey. And you open this bad boy. It came with a carving fork too. I like the carving fork because it's good for twirling up pastas, cutting against big, long cuts, like I said, hence the length of the blade. It's also another kind of novelty knife that I have. But yeah, so those are my knives. And then this is how they kind of get, so I had this old Cuisinart knife and the sheath fit perfectly on this. I got this knife roll because I thought it'd be cool to be able to have a place to store my knives, and I didn't actually, and like I like it, like it's cool and all, but it takes up a lot of space. And recently I saw a chef, and he had a chef bag, and I would much rather prefer that. You can, you know, store a notebook in there, because notebooks are, I forgot my notebook. But notebooks are great to have when you're in the kitchen. I like my knife roll, but I wish I would have rather have gotten a knife bag. Plus it's a lot more convenient, comfortable on the shoulders and whatnot. And then offset spatula, great for plating, which I'll get into my plating kit here in a second. Doing small little things, you know, work with your tweezers and kind of play around with how you're going to set something on the plate, just like that. And then you can also do cool things with them, cool little swooshes and designs. That all goes into this Bane that I like to keep some hot water in, and then a microplane. And look, don't fuck up your microplane like I did, okay? Don't mess it up. But yeah, microplane's great. Zesting, if you're grating cheese onto something, you get those fine little shreds that dance on the food. Microplane, if you see this video, can you please come out with a RoboCube attachment? So yeah, microplane, if I can get this back in. Microplane, great. Your thermometer. Always have to have a thermometer on you. It takes 10 seconds, especially if you're making chicken. Anything that needs to be up to 165 degrees to ensure that you're not gonna kill somebody. This is my mom's, I think. Also, if you've got a chef coat on, it goes into the pocket right nice. Just make sure you wipe off the actual needle part of it. It's always easiest if you go pinky first, slide it in. Let's talk about honing rods, okay? Different from a sharpener. It's not a sharpener, and I hate people say this, because it's not. When you sharpen your blade, you're resetting the blade angle. This simply straightens the blade, because as you cook, you get little tiny waves in your knife and little tiny breaks, and you don't need a whole, I have a nick in this knife. A honing rod simply straightens your blade for each cook. It ensures that it's staying in tip-top shape. Come down like that. Get the full length of your blade. It straightens your blade. It does not sharpen your blade. It just keeps your knife sharp. Every time you use it, or like once a week, couple times a week, and then you'll take it to the whetstone like every few months or so. Some chefs like to do it every morning. If you are a professional chef, typically you would do it every morning. I've got a ruler if I need to do exact measurements or anything. Little tiny ruler as well. I've got some chopsticks in here. If I need chopsticks, I'm Asian, so we, sprout these things out of our butts. Metal ones, if, I've got something that I'm gonna need metal chopsticks for. Oh, and then a silicone tasting spoon. Silicone tasting spoons are nice because if you stick a metal tasting spoon into a hot pot of soup, that metal's gonna get hot. Silicone doesn't get as hot as fast, so it's easier on the mouth. Oh, and then knife tips. I never use them, but, if all of a sudden my cardboard that's why I got dented. If my cardboard sheath, gets ruined, then I can just put a knife tip on it and it won't, stab me on accident in the back. If you're head chef and you're going around making sure everybody's exact, your vegetables 1/3 of an inch off. Just be a prick. Do that to somebody that you're close with, that you can mess with. Don't do that to like some newbie, because then they're just gonna get scared. And then I have my utensil roll. Backup spoon if this spoon is dirty. This is my main spoon that I like to cook with. Same with this one, because it's large. I prefer to cook with spoons and tweezers now, instead of like, big old utensils. These also go in my Bane. I like to use these for like caramels, or finishing sauces that are just gonna get drizzled on. It's a nice little ladle. It's got a nice cool shape to it. These spoons, this one's got a little bit of a wider tip, and it's not so great if you need to get into like a corner of things. This is a sharper tip, so it's nice if you need to get into like a corner or something like that. A slotted spoon. I've been meaning to get a different slotted spoon just because these slots are just like a little too small for me. Like a mini strainer. I used to use it a lot for like fishing ravioli. These tongs differ from these tongs because, well, these tongs are longer, these tongs are shorter, but they have a wider tip. So if I'm doing something that needs a wide tip, like I wouldn't use these for pasta, but I would use these for pasta if I'm plating and whatnot, or if I'm doing large fine work. This is great for, you know, just general grabbing of things, more closer to tongs. These are plating tweezers. They help you get level if you need to, like, you know, stick something underneath. You need to get really close. They're offset tweezers. Same with the offset spatula. This is more like a tasting spoon. I like to use it as a tasting spoon, just general purpose spoon. Fine plating tweezers again. Or, you know, if you've accidentally got something into your food and you need to, you know, fish it out. Little teeny tiny baby tweezers. Good for also finishing really fine work. Great for desserts. If, you know, if you've got like pearls in a specific order. Sometimes they're just for show, so I'll just, you know, put them in my pocket. That's not hygienic, okay? Don't do that. And now you have your Bane. Great for keeping your utensils together if you're cooking. Keep it all in one place. Vertical height. Height is sexy. We like height. Even though I'm only 5'8". Hit me up. But yeah, so height is sexy. Height utilizes your space the best. Look at how much space that takes up on the countertop. And then look how much space that takes up on the countertop. And then I flip this over, and then I roll it up with my silverware roll so it makes the roll really freaking fat and heavy. This thing is like 15 pounds alone. I weighed it once and it was like crazy. And there we go. I got my knife roll, and now I'm heading off to work. There's my tools and my knives. Thanks for letting me flex on them a little bit, you know. They're worth the money. Really, if you want a good knife, you can get one for, you know, 50 bucks. Spare a little penny, you know. It'll last you, last a very long time. I have a knife that was made in 1934, but that's at home and that's rusted and it's a butcher's knife. But thank you guys so much again for joining us. It was fun to get to show off my knives a little bit. I'm very proud of my knives. They're wonderful little items that I have in my collection. And, you know, I spent a lot of money on them, so please appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you again for joining us. Bye.